A little bit different time. Of course, the slate is starting later this evening. It's starting at 7:30, and it's a small one. So we are bumped back from 5 to 6. We're still taking y'all straight at the lock. Myself, Bobby Gomes, first hour will be relieved by TastefulTides and Keith Eyster, as well as Roth around 7 o'clock, taking you all the way up to 7:30. Answer your questions in the RotoGrinders Discord channel, also in the YouTube Time of Watts. What's up, YouTube? Hit that button. Subscribe. Which button is that? The like button. Hit all the buttons. Hit any button you can. Sure, why not? But especially hit the like button. Subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all the things. Bobby, how are things in your world? 4-gamer, we can take our time. Have we seen the last of your boy, Tom Brady? Are you going to get tickets to see Brady? What is it, Brady for 80? Have you seen this movie? It's real, apparently. You're a big Brady guy.
I have not seen it. There's a Brady? What is it?
Oh, you're not aware of it? There was a commercial. Yeah. There's like these 4 old women, elderly women. Like I guess they're all around 80. And the premise of the movie, what I can understand from the commercial, is it's based on a true story. So 4 women once decided they wanted to watch the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and I guess it's a road trip to watch Tom Brady play in the Super Bowl, and that they love the Patriots and Tom Brady. And it's like Sally Field and a bunch of women that like everybody's grandma and mother's like. Yeah. Are you sold? Are you in?
I don't know if I'm going to be there for that one. You know, I think you might. You get the lowdown on it. It sounds like you know everything that's going on with it. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, Jane Fonda, Sally Field, Rita Moreno, Lily Tomlin, a lot of elderly female actresses, comedic actresses, some of them. But yeah, apparently, and I think Gronk makes a cameo. You're not sold though. I thought you were a Brady guy.
I am a Brady guy. My family's actually down in Florida right now. My brother and my mother are going to buy tickets and go up to Tampa yesterday from Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
It's like a 3-hour drive, right? So like they decided not to, which is probably for the best because obviously it wasn't the greatest game. Yeah. I'm not a big go-to-game guy. I would have never gone to Tampa, driven 3 hours to see a football game.
It has to be I would have to be a really specific example for me to go to the game as well. I mean, especially football, because like the TV is literally built for the football field. The couch is much more comfortable, right? A lot of more convenience. You don't have to wear pants necessarily.
It's so much better to just watch it on your couch. Like it's so much more comfortable. I can't see why you would ever want to go to a stadium. Really,
you can't really see what's going on. Even if you have good seats, they're not
I guess if you're going like with a date and you're getting hammered, it's probably pretty good, But
it's a group thing.
Yeah, sure. It's a group thing.
If you're going with 4 elderly women and they want to watch Tom Brady, then maybe. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, that sounds like a road trip to me. I don't know, but I'm with you.
You can make a movie about
it, based on a true story. All right. We have a 4-gamer go. Is Brady done? He's not done, right? He's just going like the Raiders.
I don't think he's done it all. I think he's Miami or Oakland.
Miami.
Miami or Vegas. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
people knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, I knew what I wasn't going to call you on it because I do that as well. Miami's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one in the conversation. We basically kind of sort of give like a goodbye speech yesterday in the presser.
Yeah.
Thanks for covering me. Thank you for being respectful. Yada yada. Hope y'all take care, and then don't kill me when I sign with the Raiders. Basically,
that is what that was, right? Like, don't be upset when I'm playing for a different team next year. Thanks for my 3 years.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like he'll be back tonight. 4-game basketball slate. Some players that are not playing this evening. The big one, of course, is Giannis Antetokounmpo not playing his 4th straight game in a row. Chris Middleton also out for Milwaukee, so like we'll be talking about the usual suspects that pop up: Bobby Portis and Drew Holiday. A couple big stuff, as far as injuries. Kyrie Irving is questionable, not just questionable, but a midday downgrade, which that does not feel good. If I had to guess, I would guess he wouldn't play, but we'll see. Stay tuned. What's interesting about the slate? It's a 4-gamer. It's not a sprint slate. We got all the games kind of split off. 7:30, Toronto, Milwaukee. We think we know what's going on there. Toronto's playing the back half of a back-to-back, and we did have Freddie VanVleet just barely play that game, it seemed, because he was rolled in at the last second. But, it's Toronto and it's Nick Nurse, and they went to overtime still. I assume they're playing, their usual guys, 40 minutes. We'll see. Brooklyn is a half hour later. So theoretically, I think we'll have news for Kyrie. If we don't, just to understand that's how that stuff goes. But of course, Durant's already out as well. So there will be a lot of cheap basketball players against the Spurs, the worst defense in all of basketball. Portland, Denver, Jamal Murray is questionable, and Bones Highland's questionable. So theoretically, there's a path for guys like, KCP or even like Ish Smith might get dusted off. Stay tuned on that, but that's 9 o'clock. That's an hour after the Brooklyn San Antonio game. And the last one is Philadelphia and the Clippers. And of course, the Clippers are on the slate, so that means they have to have something wonky. Paul George is questionable with his hamstring. He did practice. I think this is the front half of a back-to-back. I'm pretty certain of that. I'm guessing he plays, but you never really know. Philadelphia is fully healthy for what it's worth. What is your your overall screenshot here of this slate? Because if I run some optimals, and I have, it is wild. Because the second biggest optimal, like the second highest scoring optimal on DK, it's $4 and it's 4 Nets, and that's including Kyrie, assuming Kyrie's in. It's all about the Bucks and it's all about the Nets. Just crazy. If you look at the highest, owned guys, Buck, Nets, Buck, Josh Hart. Nets. It's really wild. Of course, this stuff is subject to change when new body parts come in, and if Kyrie's out, that's gonna boot him out, obviously. But yeah, it seems kind of sort of straightforward where you're supposed to be attacking, but how do you take advantage of that in tournaments?
Yeah, so for me, I'm seeing a ton, just like you, $4 to $5 in a lot of these optimals. I don't think I'm playing any more than 3, just because of like how this slate's set up in terms of news. I don't want to get like tied down to too many of these bucks if other stuff kind of opens up as the slate progresses. So I think 3 is going to be probably the cap for me. I guess if you're playing smaller field stuff, you can go to 4. I don't know if I would really push 5. I think you're kind of handicapping yourself in that situation. Just based on this other news. Like if Murray's out, I think that's huge. The small forward position isn't that strong. Currently, it's like Yuta Watanabe. I would like an MPJ. If Murray's out, like I like Michael Porter Jr. a good bit. He's at a nice price tag on DK, and he would kind of fill that slot, and I wouldn't have to play Yuta. The other thing is Yuta probably becomes a slightly better play if Kyrie's out. But still, I think small forward's one of the positions you can attack in tournaments and try to get different, just because there isn't a ton of like very strong plays there. So yeah, right now I currently have at most 3 in terms of my bucks. Would you consider doing it differently, or how are you playing it?
I was thinking about it from a maybe 4, not 5, maybe 4. But maybe like no more than 2 of a group of like Grayson Allen, Connaughton, Joe Ingles, Javon Carter, like those guys. You know what I mean? Like those guys are kind of sort of, I feel like they're going to eat off each other, right? Although basically a lot of the wings, or the pseudo ball handlers, I think Ingles is going to handle the ball a good bit. Obviously the main guy is going to be Drew. And just the shooters, as far as Allen and Connaughton, who are very similar. So I think maybe. Yes.
Kyrie's out. Just heads up.
Oh.
News just hit.
Thank you. That Devin, that changes things as far as the slate.
I figured I should jump in and let you know.
It's kind of what I expected. And that's the other thing, and those are the first 2 games. We'll talk about it. It's like Milwaukee still has like 12 guys. And they still might play 10 or 11 guys. So it's not like it's like they're stuck and they're playing a 7-man rotation. That's not how it works. And Brooklyn still has, 10, 11 guys. I'm really curious what they're going to start.
I really like the grouping of Carter, basically Allen and Ingles. You'd add Connaughton to that?
I think as far as like no more than 2.
Yeah, max 2.
I think so. So I think I would say maybe like max $4 and maybe like max 2 of that group. I think that's what I would do.
I just actually added that. I think that's a really good rule to set. Yeah, for me, like I could see going to 4, but 3 would probably be like where I'm kind of leaning. I want to get at least 3. Just feels like it's worth it, based on how these guys. The issue is like the Bucks have been absolutely terrible when it's Bucks value night. It seems like it's always just a very difficult slate for whatever reason. Like the chalk is not hitting their projections at the greatest rate. Drew Holiday is someone who's going to see a very like his usage rate is almost 5% increase in the situation without Giannis, and that then you're adding like obviously Middleton hasn't played. I like Drew. Drew is definitely my favorite buck. Would you be on the same page there?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the field's favorite buck too. Like, yeah, currently 45% ownership. This stuff is going to change a little bit when the Brooklyn stuff gets adjusted, but this is the problem, right? If they're going to run an 11-man rotation still, probably. Beauchamp are projecting for 2 minutes. There's a chance he starts. He probably doesn't, but he probably plays between 2 and 19 minutes. Is he useful? No, but is he stealing minutes from somebody else? Yes. George Hill is probably going to play 10 to 20 minutes. Is he useful? No, but he's going to steal minutes from somebody else. Same thing with AJ Green. Same thing with Nwora. There's a chance, I suppose, Nwora, and sometimes Milwaukee does that hot hand stuff, right? If Nwora is out there just making some buckets, and all of a sudden he's going to earn himself some more time. But the point is, there's nobody that's going to – we're giving 36 minutes to Drew Holiday, and that's – he's awesome, and you got to pay for him, and you're still getting the salary. We have the value plays easily on this slate. Lopez, the tricky thing with Lopez is I think it's for a 4-game slate, center's pretty strong. We have the money to spend up on Embiid. We have the money to spend up on Jokic. If Jokic is playing without Murray and without Bones, he's just going to certifiably smash, right? So there's an opportunity cost to Lopez. I like Lopez, dollar for dollar, 5.8 on DK is a really, really good price. And then there's guys like Allen and Connaughton who are somewhat scoring dependent. And if they're not making their buckets, they're going to struggle. And they're not going to play more than 30 minutes. So it's tricky to figure out. There's many possible landmines.
Would you be comfortable playing less than $3, playing at least 2?
Yes, I would. I could play 2. I think I'm okay playing 2, especially if it's if you just want to play Holiday. If it's one of Holiday, Portis, and a wing. Holiday.
Yeah, I think setting that rule at least 2, at most 4, is probably the best way to attack this in GPPs if you're using an optimizer. Just so you don't get 5 and you're in that range where you're definitely getting bucks. But I think when they're playing with the 11-man rotation, it does make for – it's probably why this value's struggled in the past in terms of everyone getting there. So with the value that we can have, if it opens up and news breaks the right way as the slate moves forward, then yeah, I think you can go one. You could probably play less than 3, I would say.
Gator Nation in chat is saying Beauchamp got sent to the G League. I did not see that. Our projection team does have him getting 2 minutes. Sometimes they get sent and they come back, depending on how close the G League location is. But that's interesting and worth noting. And for what it's worth, we're only giving him 2 minutes, so he wasn't a guy that we were projecting. He's just taking a couple minutes off the top from somebody else. But yeah, that's a good note, and I'm sure somebody is on top of it. We should introduce the game, I suppose. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, several people in chat are talking about it. Now maybe he came back. He was sent a couple days ago. I don't know where he's at though. That doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be there tonight, but we'll see. Stay tuned. Okay, Toronto versus Milwaukee. That is the very first game we'll be talking about. 222 is the total. Toronto is a 1-point dog here.
Hey, real quick before we dive in, we've had some issues with our giveaway bot in Discord the last couple of days.
What?
So we're gonna take the bull by the horns here, as Yappy in chat likes to say. We're gonna take everybody in the live stream chat in Discord, in the RG Discord. It's free to join. Just hop in there, rotogrinders.com/Discord at 6:30 Eastern. Drop your favorite number between 1 and 100. And we'll hit random.org at about 6:45 Eastern, and then we'll pick a couple of winners.
Is there a game theory to this as far as who's picking the winners? You are picking the winners?
I'll pick the winners. I've got random.org set up here on a tab. We'll go there and pick some winners just because I feel bad that people have been wanting the giveaway bot. The giveaway bot's been in the repair shop for a couple of weeks here, just trying to figure out why that's not working, but we can't, we gotta press on anyway. So rotogrinders.com/Discord in the live stream chat.
The chalk is 69, right? And before 69 in first.
I suppose this is going to be the popular one. I should have picked 1 and 50, but oh well.
Yeah.
Limit 2 per number. How about that?
There you go. If we would have been 420 not available, right? We only go up to 100, I suppose.
We only have
7
one.
For the old school people as well, for sure. Yeah. All right. So again, we're going to be getting our lineup HQ sorted soon enough. Milwaukee, we should be good to go as far as the prediction. And again, I'm sure they're on top of the Beauchamp news and they'll figure it out. And we'll see where he is currently located. Toronto back-to-back and travel. Slight dog here. I don't think they have any injuries of note. Pretty sure they don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're clean. Milwaukee, the big ones is Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Somebody in chat was asking about Joe Ingles. Yeah, Stan was asking about Joe Ingles. I think he's kind of interesting. He can do a little bit of each. Like he can get one of those cheap, like kind of Ben Simmons like nights, like 7, 7, and 7. Can handle the ball a little bit, can shoot a little bit, can board a little bit, can get you a stock as well. And he's really, really cheap on DK. So Ingles is like one of my favorite cheapies. Where is he at as far as ownership? Because I feel like he's not like sneaking up at anybody. Let's see. Ingles, yeah, we're seeing 25%. We're giving like an 18-point projection, give or take. And I think I think he can put up like a 30 spot. He can also put up like 12. But I think Ingles is kind of sort of someone interesting. I did run a court IQ on this. Not surprisingly, Drew Holiday gets the biggest bump as far as usage, 6.1%. Per 36 minutes, he gains almost 7 DK points. Grayson Allen, a 5% usage bump, which would be up to 20%. He would put 0.97 DK points per minute. So he's getting 7 DK points per minute as far as his bump. What's that minute sample? 320 minutes. Portis, the second highest usage for what it's worth, at 23.4%, but not as big as far as his per 36, as far as his fantasy points per minute. Oh, just 3 per 36. I thought it would be bigger, to be honest. His usage only 1.5% jump. A little bit surprising for me. But, it doesn't hurt that Giannis is off the court.
If you had to rank the value in general or your favorite bugs, how would you rank them? Leave Drew off of it.
Am I leaving Portis out as well?
Yeah, leave Portis out too. Just rank the 4 that we kind of talked about making the group around, which was Connaughton, Allen, Ingles, and Carter.
So I think Ingles is really useful because he's a small forward. You were talking about before as far as like depth at certain positions. His center, I think, is really, really strong today. Point guard, I think, is pretty strong today. Actually, I was thinking Kyrie. Kyrie takes a hit, and then Kyrie, but Holiday obviously really, really strong. Lillard's pretty good, of course. Harden's pretty good. Murray, we don't know. But small forward, like you mentioned Michael Porter Jr., and I like him too, but beyond that, it gets ugly really, really fast. Michael Porter Jr., Josh Hart's pretty good. And you mentioned Yuta Watanabe, which is super fragile. McDermott, I don't feel good about that at all. So I think Ingles is my favorite. Because of the context of the slate and is how you build lineups. I think he's the best of the cheapies. He doesn't have to start for what it's worth.
I'm with you on Ingles. I think it would be Allen for me next. Then Connaughton, then Carter, I would say. How would you say you're in alignment there?
Yeah, Carter is a tricky one, man, because we've seen him put up huge games, but I think his biggest games were in the absence of Drew, right? I mean, he was handling the ball. Like he had it where it was like no Holiday, no Middleton, and no Giannis, and that's when he went to town. I never really seen that, and he has a chance to pop up, and he can play alongside Drew somewhat. I don't know what to do with him, but Allen versus Connaughton, I don't know. I think I like Grayson Allen a little bit better, and he's a little bit cheaper. Ownership will reflect that. 23% for Grayson, 16% for Connaughton. Lopez I like, but again, center's pretty strong. On Fanduel, you can only play 1. Of course, you can play 2 on DK. You could play Bobby Portis at center, but I think the smart money is to play him at power forward. That makes more sense.
Center people have to be getting up to Jokic now with all this Nets value because I feel like everyone's just the construction has to be going in the direction of getting Jokic.
Holiday and Jokic as your 2 big spends?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if we did I'll run some optimals. Yeah. Okay. We're giving Jokic 56-ish points for what it's worth, which might be too low. And the projection will be higher. Let's see if we have a what if on this. I assume we have a what if, and if Murray's off the court, we're probably going to see a projection of close to 60, especially if Bones is off the court. Like he's just going to do everything. All right, pulling up the what if. Let's see, the Kyrie one's there. That's already done. Paul George. Okay, so if Jamal Murray's out, we would have Jokic 57 plus. If Bones and Jamal are out, we would have Jokic at almost 60. So there you go.
Yeah, that is. I would just be building to get to Jokic with how everything's kind of breaking. I think we have currently Lillard's hitting our best number one projected team still.
Well, I'm running it now. Yeah, I'm giving it a refresh now. Yeah, we're going to be having to answer questions like I see in chat. Edmund Sumner or Seth Curry. We'll talk about the Nets soon enough. Sumner's weird because he could play 10 minutes or can play 28 minutes, and neither would surprise me. I feel pretty good about Curry, and Curry, he has the biggest usage bump with in that sample with Durant and Kyrie off. We'll talk about it in a second, but he gets a usage bump all the way up to 30%. Really, really.
What's Harris's bump? Because Harris fills that small forward position too at 4,200.
His usage is 19%, and it's a bump of almost 4%.
Yeah, I like Joe Harris now a little bit more.
Yeah. Interesting. He does not get more fantasy points. I don't know if that's like a efficiency thing. I'm trying to see why. Is it maybe not a lot of minutes? Yeah, it's only an 84-minute sample. The samples aren't huge because there's not a lot of stuff with Durant and Kyrie off for Brooklyn. And Cam Thomas is the really interesting one if they let him go. But again, you don't know how much run they're going to give to Cam Thomas, but there's a chance he could be the guy amongst that grouping. And I think a lot of it's to see what we get in the starting lineup, but not necessarily. You have to be able to take on some really low scores and with Brooklyn, because there's going to be some high volatility, I think.
I really like the Simmons fade prior to this Kyrie news. Now I don't know if you can really go that route just because he's going to see so much. Well, his usage, I don't know if his usage rate's really going to, how much will his usage rate spike?
His usage is
update, by the way.
It's like nothing, right? So it's just stocks and stuff.
Yeah, so 15.6% usage, but that's like not how he gets there, right? So 1.28 DK points per minute because he gets an assist bump. His rebounding bump is huge. Almost 8 fantasy points per 36 on DK. It's a big jump. But the usage bump is 0.1%. He's not looking for a shot. That's just like, and that's why you want guys that are playing alongside him. Or Yuta Watanabe is a 15%er. Claxton, I think, is pretty interesting too. And I wrote her up today on Scores and Odds. If you guys were early, you got some nice lines on Nick Claxton. Hopefully he gets there today. Laddered him up. Feeling pretty good.
I think Claxton's a great GBP play in the spot.
Well, what's tricky about him is like we haven't seen him in the 7Ks really. Like if we have, it's hard to justify. And we talked about Jokic, talked about Embiid. So the very first optimal I got here, and there's fragility because we're giving Edmund Sumner 23 fantasy points, and he's 3.4K. But that, if he puts up 10, I would not be surprised, and we don't know how much he's going to play. It's a really tricky read.
TJ Warren, if TJ Warren's going to be one of the lower net in terms of like just ownership, he fills that small forward, power forward, always going to look for a shot. We know that.
21% usage in the sample without Durant, without Kyrie, 0.77. He's basically points. He's got to get there by putting 20-plus points in the bucket, which he can do, but he's not going to get you a heck of a lot else.
Yeah. I just think he fills that position too, like him.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point for small forward, right?
Yep.
Let's kind of jump back to. I know we're talking about the whole slate because it's worth talking about the whole slate and everything. When you're talking about one team and one player, you're basically saying don't play this other guy, right? So it's all sort of one big puzzle. Toronto, Milwaukee, kind of sorting through. Did we get any ownership? We did get an ownership update as well. Well, no, we didn't. No, bad job by me. Let me refresh it again. We might get it because our projections are as of 6:20 East Coast. Our ownership is 540, so we'll get a new one coming in. So this is not official. Milwaukee, by the way, is playing somebody else. They're playing Toronto. They're playing the Raptors, who play a ton of minutes. And there's Pascal Siakam, who's, less than 10K, 9.8 on DK, center and center only. It does help that there's no Giannis out there. Defensively, Milwaukee's not necessarily a team you want to attack, and Pascal's going to still probably play his 40 minutes or so. FEV was great last night in the overtime game. Assuming he's fine, I think it was a back. What it was he was dealing with? Assuming he's good to go, like no issues playing him. Scotty Barnes is fine. OG's fine. And Trent, I wouldn't go beyond that. To me, Precious just doesn't have a big enough ceiling. He's projecting for around 19 fantasy points as like a backup 5, but I cannot get excited about that. Toronto, what about runbacks? As far as, we have a lot of Milwaukee stuff. What are you doing as far as, the Raptors? We feel pretty good about these minutes, if nothing else.
My favorite GBP play from the Raptors would be Siakam. We know he's going to get the minutes. I do think that because the opportunity cost is so high at center, he's going to come in very low owned on the slate. So 30% usage in this situation, well, just like their regular situation, I have no issue getting to him when others will try to fill up spot. They will leave spots open and just overlook him because of waiting for value, basically building for the Jokic construction. They just won't entertain Pascal, and I think he's fine to get to just as a tournament play for that reason. FEV, not so much, not as interested in FEV just because of Drew. Probably gets Drew defense. I don't really want to see that. I want to see defense versus archetype. I don't think the matchup's really great for FEV. He was questionable the other night, and he did play a ton of minutes. I still think Nurse will play him a good amount of minutes tonight.
38, 37.
Yeah, I don't think that really changes, but I don't know. It seems like a Pascal night for me in terms of the Toronto run backs. You can always play OG. You can always play Barnes. They both actually have that small forward eligibility, which I think is nice. But they're a full squad. It's different. If this was an 11-game slate, I don't know. We're still probably considering Toronto guys just because they play so many minutes. So I shouldn't just say they're a full squad. It's a 4-game slate. They have a ton of guys that play a position that I think is relatively weak, which is small forward. So Trent, OG, and Barnes, if they're fillers for you, I don't mind getting to them as well. But my favorite would definitely be Pascal.
Any concerns as far as Pascal and I guess all Toronto? And it sounds like you don't have any, but here Hammer asking the questions. 3rd and 4 nights for Pascal. I don't think I have any concerns because again, Nurse is the coach, and that's that.
I guess you can have some concerns, but we've seen in the Nurse just does what he wants. If you're playing 150, I would definitely have on a 4-game slate some Siakam in my builds, right? If you don't feel comfortable with it, you can always go to that, I think, Jokic construction that I think we have so much center opportunity cost at center. People are just going to play Jokic. But I think a way to get different is just to jump early and play some Siakam.
Coach Malone for Denver entered health and safety protocols. I don't know if it's just him, but I think that's worth monitoring there. Okay, we'll see. I imagine he's been in contact with his players, but okay, just something to keep an eye on. That just came out a minute ago. That is a 9:00 game, but of course, obviously, you want your players to be playing. If something happens with the rest of the Denver guys, pay attention.
And maybe now is as good a time as any to go ahead and take our first winners here for the giveaway. Give ourselves a chance for ownership to update and for news to come out. So we have some people guessed in Discord. We'll go ahead and take the number here, 1 to 100. 71, and I believe that means Monkey Wrangler is our current winner. We'll do another giveaway here in a little bit, but I'll reach out to you in Discord.
Yeah, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Go into the live stream chat channel. There are some free channels. There are some premium channels. This is a free channel, and random people will be selected. Devin, he's the man. He'll be selecting, I think, 2 more, 3 in total. Is that correct, Devin?
Yeah, we'll do 3, maybe 4 if we have time.
Oh, look at you. If you're feeling frisky, sure, why not? Drop a number in there between 1 and 100. You do not need a paid RotoGrinders account, just their RG account, like a free account, any account with RotoGrinders, and you are eligible. Just jump in there and just drop a number between 1 and 100. And there is 69 right on cue, of course. Somebody couldn't help themselves. There you go. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Okay. Is there anything else that we should say as far as Milwaukee that we should stress? Like what about, I think Holiday fades. Like if he's 45%, what about not playing Holiday?
At 8K, like maybe like you can make that K. For me, like I don't want to play Simmons. Like, I still don't want to play Simmons, but I get like Simmons at 5.9 versus Holiday at 8K. It's a big different in price. I think in terms of I think currently I'm just going to play Holiday. If I was going to fade someone, I'd take my chance on Simmons. I don't know if that's the correct way to go about it, but Simmons seems like the guy that would most likely fail in this situation. Just tough with that tag because he's so cheap. And
yeah, it's a great – if you're playing cash games, of course. Like play Holiday, but tournaments, just thinking about trying to be different. And, there's Lillard out there. There's Harden out there. That like those guys could break slates too. Harden's been in awesome form lately as well, for what it's worth.
Who do you think is going to be higher owned, Simmons or Drew?
Probably. You're talking DK, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's going to be Holiday. Simmons, the argument you can make in Simmons, and I'm curious why you don't like him, is, well, he doesn't shoot a lot. Like his per 36 is like really, really close to a triple double. It's almost like 999 basically. And the matchup obviously is awesome, but he has these back issues, and he sat out all of last year with the back. I think is that part of his injuries. That he sat out the whole bunch of this year with the back. He's been scratched with the back before. It's San Antonio. Like maybe they can take it easy on his back. I get the fade if that's what that's your thought process is. And also, we have 36% ownership, but again, this is going to get refreshed. It is before the Kyrie stuff. We have a projection for him for 35 fantasy points at 5.9K, which is really solid. And he's also got some multi-position eligibility. I assume you would play him in the power forward spot over the center spot. I think it's an interesting fade as well, which we'll get to. I see some people in chat putting in, this is the regular YouTube chat. Hey, YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. We appreciate the participation, but like if you're dropping a number there, you're just not going to be eligible for the contest we're running. You got to go to the RotoGrinders Discord again, which is free, rotogrinders.com/Discord, and go to the live stream chat channel and drop a number there. Just have an RG account. You don't need a paid RG account, just any RG account where you can look at your ranking, whatever you want to do with it, and then drop a number in there. Yeah. All right. So anything is left to be said as far as Milwaukee, Toronto? Milwaukee looks really, really good, obviously. I think I'm going to have at least 2 on every team as far as Bucks. And it sounds like that's what one of your rules was as well.
At least 2, at most 4, yep.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the Spurs. The Spurs and Brooklyn. Again, news just dropped. If you all missed it, Kyrie is out. Let's see who we're projecting to start. I'm curious who we have. Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Sumner had a nice projection. We're projecting Edmund Sumner to draw the start with Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons, and Nick Claxton. And what's wild about that is, like, if that's the starters, I'm just thinking, like, usage-wise, who's the biggest usage guy out there if those are our starters? Is it Sumner amongst that group? Like, nobody, I don't think, is above 20%. I don't think. Sumner on the season's 20%. Claxton is a 15% usage guy. Harris is a 14% usage guy. O'Neal is a 13% usage guy. And Simmons is a 14% usage guy. Like, somebody's usage has to spike, right? It's just math. Like, that's just how that goes. They have to average collectively 20, right? 5 guys. And yeah, that's really, really interesting. I wonder who it's going to be. And we talked about it before as far as Curry is the one that gets the huge usage spike, but we're not even projecting him to start. That doesn't mean he can't play him, obviously.
Yeah, it would be Curry. But if he's not starting, then it looks like it might be Sumner.
Sumner 22%, 1.15 DK points per minute in a 102-minute sample without Durant, without Kyrie. So pretty good usage, good fantasy points per minute. Yeah. And there's Patty Mills, who they might dust off for some minutes.
Patty Mills revenge.
No. How many times did you roster?
We still only have Patty for like 14 minutes.
Oh my gosh. I hated roster passing Patty Mills when he was like 3K on San Antonio, like begging for 22 points, like 3 years ago, whatever it was. I hated it. Never worked out. Except for that one time it did, and I didn't have him. Yeah, Simmons, again, triple-double upside, especially against San Antonio. We should mention San Antonio, if we didn't stress it. They are the worst defense in all of basketball. They give up the most points in the paint in all of basketball. Nick Claxton scores like 90% of his points in the paint, basically dunks. So he's a really strong play. You're paying a little bit more you typically do at 7-2 for Claxton. Simmons, another guy who, would have to get to the hole, and he certainly can, but he rarely looks for his shot. Royce O'Neal is just your classic 3-and-D guys. No usage guys. I'm really curious, like, who's going to step up, and maybe they do start Curry just to get a shooter out there, or maybe Joe Harris just like takes some more threes. What's your read on that? Because somebody's got to shoot.
Yeah, so I think it's going to end up being Warren. I don't know if he's going to start, but I do think he's going to be someone at 5'2". I don't hate getting to him just because I know he looks for his shot. The whole situation with Simmons is I just cannot figure it out, because it seems like I think we already talked about, like, I wanted to fade him prior to the Kyrie news. Now he's just such a strong play. He gets all his points inside too. You just mentioned that San Antonio gives up the most points inside. Like, Simmons is going to be able to score in this scenario. So I don't know if he's the one you can kind of fade. Maybe it is Drew. I just don't know who would you get off of for Drew.
I hate to be like armchair psychologist, but you think Simmons is like he's like, oh man, I'm going to step up today, or I feel like there's somebody.
No, this is why I still think he's like possibly a good fade, because even at this price tag, he's just not someone who, I think he's too passive, Yeah.
Yeah.
But the stocks will be there. Like, we talked about his assist rate going up. We talked about his rebounding rate going up. Should be able to score now because he's getting points. He's going to get his points in the paint. Like, I don't know. He's someone I would trust me. I would love. I think he makes the most sense to fade out of Drew and him as the two chalkiest pieces on the slate. But the reason his price tag is what's like messing with me a little bit here, because Drew is 8K and he's 5'9".
Yeah. I saw people in chat talking about Sumner last game. He got into foul trouble. He got in a lot of foul trouble. And then I think the game, he just didn't come back after the third quarter. He got an early foul trouble. I know that. Did he foul out? He couldn't have fouled out there, could he? He didn't play a lot of minutes while he did draw the start, which, again, speaks to the fragility. Like, I think a guy like Curry is a guy that is happy to take 20 shots. You know what I mean? That's why, even if he doesn't start, maybe he comes in at like the 8-minute mark, because you have to recognize as a coach, I think, like, we have no shooters, nobody out there willing to shoot. Get him in pretty quickly. O'Neal's going to take his open three, but he's not a guy that necessarily looks for his shot. Harris is another guy who will take some open threes. He can drive a little bit, but, not so much these days, I don't think. I think Curry's my favorite play on Brooklyn outside of Simmons. But again, there is some concern with Simmons, I'd say.
I think I'd rank it Ben, even though I don't want – Ben would be number one, then Curry, then Sumner for me. I might put Sumner ahead of Curry.
I don't hate that. Yeah, I could see – I absolutely see a bounce back. And if he's starting and if people are actually concerned that, like, he didn't play a lot of minutes last game, he had 4 fouls in the game for what it's worth. I think he got his fourth – middle, like right in a few minutes after the third started, and he didn't come back for whatever reason. Maybe somebody was playing well, I'm not sure, but he did not come back. I don't believe San Antonio is a great opponent. Yeah, so giving up threes, they're going to get absolutely destroyed in the inside. San Antonio only gives up the 7th least amount of three-point attempts. I'm guessing that's just because they're so easily exploitable inside. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure about their three-point defensive efficiency, but I'm not afraid to throw 3-pointers at him. Is kind of the point I'm saying. I'm happy to fire Curry and Harris at them. How about the Spurs? How do you feel about the San Antonio Spurs? No Devin Vassell. I heard somebody in chat talking about Jakob Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl, I think, seems like an interesting roster. Depending on where you're shopping, Kelvin Johnson on Fanduel is going to be really, really popular, where he's in the mid-6s. He's 7-4 on DK. Disappointing more so of late. He's been dealing with some injuries, obviously, too. But he's not done well when he's been reasonably popular. He hasn't done enough, I guess I can say. How do you feel about Keldon, Poeltl, Jones? Interesting. The rest of the Spurs.
Yeah, so I like Poeltl as a run back in tournaments. I know the center position, there's a ton of opportunity cost. I do think that the Nets are exploitable inside, and Poeltl seems like just with his price tag, he's currently at 6'3", right? So 6'2" or 6'2" on DK. We have him for 28 minutes. He's probably my favorite play as a run back. Keldon Johnson has been someone who, as chalk, has not done well for a lot of people. So maybe this is a flop lag situation with him. The guy I really like, Trey Jones, is just gets it done. I never have an issue rostering Trey Jones. He's at 6,500. Those would probably be my three favorite in terms of Spurs. I know we have Doug McDermott news, right? I think there's a what if for Doug McDermott.
Yeah, you slow news day when he's they're trying to who do we put a what if on? Dougie is questionable. Devin Vassell is out. By the way, this note just dropped, and kind of what we were talking about. They're just going to start Seth Curry, and Seth Curry looks like a really, really good play, but now that's going to affect his ownership. I almost kind of preferred him coming off the bench, but he's going to get a big projection, and Curry is going to be really popular. But again, 30% usage, which is a really big number. 30% usage when Kyrie and Durant are out. So I think Curry is just a really good play.
I would now definitely prefer Curry over Sumner that he's starting.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Curry, Harris, O'Neal, Simmons, Claxton. I'm guessing that's what it's going to be.
That makes sense.
So your favorite Spur, your favorite run back would be Trey over Keldon. You're right, Keldon's done.
I think Poeltl's my favorite, but I really like Trey Jones. Trey Jones, the point guard that I think you can get to in this situation, and at 6,500, I don't mind playing. He looks. I watched their game the other night. He kind of looks like their Pop's favorite in terms of just getting control, running the offense, and pretty much doing that at the point guard position. So don't mind Trey Jones.
McDermott in, by the way. He's in, and he was somebody that was hitting lineups earlier today. I don't think he is anymore because of what's going on in Milwaukee and what's going on in Brooklyn. You can, it's still the same play, but much, much, much lower ownership there. And Josh Richardson was another guy that was kind of sort of on the fringe. He was hitting some stuff as well, but I think they're, back of the line to generic Milwaukee, generic Brooklyn. Would you agree with that as far as the fringy San Antonio stuff?
Yeah, they come behind this Milwaukee and this Milwaukee value and the Nets value. You're talking about the San Antonio value, right?
Yeah, it was something like Richardson and McDermott, which they're both going to play around.
There's no need for them really at this point, right?
Yeah, but earlier today, I'm sure you looked at if you ran stuff earlier today, and obviously it's basketball.
McDermott was hitting, and
yeah, I think that they're much, much, much less interesting. If you're running 150, if you want them in the pool, sure, have at it. But it's hard to endorse those plays. I think it's Poeltl, Keldon, and Trey Jones, and basically that's it. If you want to bet on blowout or Poeltl getting injured or Poeltl getting foul trouble, I guess you can work in some Zach Collins, but which he's a good fantasy point player, and there's a path where he plays 25 minutes, I guess. But again, that's 150. That's large field stuff. Anything else we should stress before we knock out Portland, Denver, and Philadelphia and the Clippers? I just think
someone in chat said fading Simmons is suicide, which is we get it, right? But we're talking tournaments. You can fade anyone in tournaments. I get what you're saying. You don't want to. He's at his tag's great. Whatever. It fits construction great, but it's Ben Simmons, right? So
it is Ben Simmons.
It is Ben Simmons.
So Ben Simmons in his last game put up 0 points. 0 points in the bucket, right? 0. How many DK points did he score? Which is kind of illustrating the point, by the way. Yeah, I'm leading you, but 0 points in the bucket. The whole concept is to put points. Put the ball.
What do you have for DK points last game?
35.75.
Yeah.
9 rebounds, 13 assists. Just missed double-double bonus. Couple stocks as well. Like that's what he's going to do. And it's a great opponent. And he might, you know what? I think he scores. I think he scores a few buckets too. I think.
He's super strong just to be on the optimal team. So I get why it's tough to get off that in basketball. So
I would just, if there was a draft, if we're going to draft like players most likely not to finish the game tonight due to injury, right? He's probably he's a first round pick. If you want to make that argument, sure. Injury, a back spasm flaring up or whatever. I get it. And he's got a big ownership number. I see both sides of it. I hear both y'all. I get it. And, it's dealer's choice, man. Do whatever you want.
All right, Dean. I can't keep interrupting you two because you have 10 minutes or so to get through 2 more games, but we'll hit another winner real quick. Let's see. Number is 91 is the current number. We'll see. Looks like closest is... I think we have a 2-way tie for closest. Gamble 28 and Jameson's dad 88 would be Gray Bill 720. All right. I'll reach out to you two on Twitter or on our Discord.
There you go. Close. Is it Price is Right rules? I don't know if you said or not, because that matters.
Yeah, well, we're going to change the rules on future giveaways. We've been discussing this in the Discord chat, some future fun ways to do this. But yeah, we're going to just stick with because we got a little bit more guesses this time, but there's still some gaps. So we'll do closest guess. I'll reach out to you two in Discord.
I do think those first 2 games are much, much, much more important to talk about, and there's much better stuff going on there. Stuff can change, of course, as far as Portland, Denver. We do have Jamal Murray, who's got a foot and specifically his ankle. Bones Highland's got an ankle as well. They're both questionable. As far as the other side of that game, everybody's pretty clean. The only one that's going to be out is Justice Winslow. We've not seen him for a while. We do have the money for Jokic, and what's interesting is he was not hitting optimals. I wonder if I artificially pump him up a few points, probably gets there. Let's talk about it. And I feel like Murray doesn't play, but I don't know if he's not going to play. It's just a guess, but that's just what we're here doing. Well, we know it by 8:00. I don't know. The next game that the Portland game versus Denver is at 9. Pretty big number, 237. Portland 6-point dog here. Bobby, what is your thoughts as far as Denver? It sounds like that you want to go out of your way to pay for Jokic, which is, you're never angry when you get Jokic.
Yeah, even if Jamal Murray wasn't out, I'd still like Jokic on a 4-game slate in tournaments. Get him at higher ownership now, I would imagine. Just because we have the value to get to him, I still think he's a really strong play, even at 12K. So Jokic would be my number 1 priority. Then I like Michael Porter Jr. Prior to the Kyrie news, he was like the guy in the salary range that I was hoping could beat Ben Simmons. I still think he's a strong play. He just at 5'4", he's a good play, even with Murray in at a weak position that is small forward. Aaron Gordon at 6'6", now that Murray's out, he's going to get a bump. Don't mind him. Bones, if he plays at 4'9", and Murray's potentially, we have him questionable, but if Murray sits and Bones plays, he would get a bump. And then Bruce Brown as well at shooting guard, small forward. I think he would see a usage increase according to our if-then.
Yeah, KCP as well. And if both guys are out, I don't know how much you need it, but we might see some Ish Smith. I don't know how much he would do, but he's a professional point guard. Although Jokic will be the point guard, right? But just he's 3K. I think he's still minimum 3K. Do we have a what if on both those guys? And if so, what is our projection on Ish if both those players are out? Do we have that or no?
On Ish, if both are out?
Yeah, is he getting it? He's got to be getting some kind of projection. Yeah, 12 it looks like. Yeah.
We have him at 12. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, something like 12. KCP at 26 or so. Yeah, Najee, not very exciting. Braun, not very exciting. Okay. Yeah, Jokic is just the guy. And, I like MPJ. The price is down pretty good as well on DK and at a position that's not particularly appealing. Bruce Brown is just, he plays for anybody who's injured 1 through 4, basically, right? So he's, always willing to step up and play 30-plus minutes, super solid. No issues getting there. Other side of this game, Nurkic is not going to get played amongst all these centers, I don't think, relative to a 4-game slate. You got the Grant revenge. If you're talking about getting away from Holiday, if you want to do something like that, you want to be ambitious in tournaments, Lillard's one way to go. What is your thoughts as far as the Blazers?
Yeah, if you want to get away from Holiday, like it makes sense to go to Lillard. Lillard has been hitting optimals all day. He's still, I think, in our number one optimal. So I think he will be popular. He's just not going to be as popular as Holiday. So it could be a good tournament play. Nurkic, just because of the opportunity cost at center, he's not going to be played. Makes sense to get to Nurkic. I think he might be the lone guy that ends up forgotten, especially seeing that a lot of people are going to try to get to Jokic. Nurkic has had good games versus Jokic in the past, so I don't mind the Nurkic call in tournaments. And then like these other guys, like Josh Hart, he's going to show up well in terms of like projections, but I worry about the total ceiling for him. Like I definitely prefer maybe like a Simons, just because I liked Simons prior to like all this news because I thought Lillard was going to be more popular and he was just like a way to get off. And if he gets hot, it just ends up being the Simons show, right? Like they just let him continue playing if he's hitting his threes.
I think the thing with Hart is in part that he's a small forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons that's kind of pumping him up there. But again, I have Ingles and MPJ in front of him, I think. But Hart's probably my third favorite. Right, we can play as well too, but I'm okay with Hart. First optimal, by the way, I artificially pumped up Jokic to 59 DK points, and he still is only hitting like 25%, which is kind of strange. But like you said, it's Lillard's getting a good bit, and Holiday is hitting my cap essentially. Seth Curry is hitting my cap, of course. Simmons is hitting the cap. Let's see. First one has 4 Nets, no surprise, and only $2 and 2 Blazers. If you can make that lineup, and $3 and 3 Nets, and it's Bucks and Nets, and then fill in your favorite superstar. That's basically what it is as far as this slate. But we'll talk about the Clippers in a second, as well as Philadelphia. Final thoughts as far as Portland, Denver, and again, whatever we missed, whatever you guys want talked about. The Crunch Time crew, they're coming in about 5-ish minutes or so. You got Kevin Roth running that crew with you got Tim, TastefulTides, as well as Keith Eyster. Eyes. I'm fusing his nickname with his last name. My apologies if he's listening out there. They'll be on in about 5 minutes or so. Fire up your questions in the RotoGrinders premium Discord channel, and if time allots, Roth will knock out your questions in the YouTube chat. Save those, though, until they come on, obviously. Final thoughts as far as Portland, Denver?
Final thoughts in terms of Portland, Denver. I'm trying to get to Jokic tonight.
I want to be over as well. Whatever the ownership projection is, and we're still waiting for that. We'll get one before lock. We might have one now. I just have to hit refresh. We'll see. Should be incoming, hitting the refresh button. As we're doing that, let's introduce the last game, the Hammer, at 10 o'clock. That is Philadelphia and the Clippers. 223 is the total. Philadelphia fully healthy, 1-point dog. You got the Doc revenge game. You have Paul George questionable. We have, let's see, Marcus Morris expected to be available. No Kennard, and Wall is out with his, he's got an abdominal, I believe. George did this, so I believe we are projecting him in. Your thoughts as far as Philadelphia and the Clippers? This feels like the most uninteresting game amongst the four. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think George plays, and Kawhi's currently priced for George. He's pretty much been priced up since George has been out. So there's not too much like I'm really interested in terms of like these Clippers. I do like Zubac, but the opportunity cost at the center position is tough. He does have one of the better defense versus archetype matchups in terms of our defense versus archetype tool on the slate. So I think he's interesting. I'd probably max one of these Clippers. Like I'm not trying to get to too many of them. Probably just be George outside of Zubac. I really don't have much interest in the Clips if they're fully healthy. On the other side, James Harden and Embiid, I think they're fine tournament plays. Harden could be pivot off of, say, a Drew if you want to go that way. I don't know. What's Harden's price currently? He's 10K, Drew's 8K. Yeah, so he's not really – I don't know. Maybe you could play Harden instead of Drew if you were to end up fading that high ownership with Drew.
It gives you a different build, and it's not terrible to be stuck with James Harden on a
it is
4-game
2K difference.
19% ownership. Yeah. Well, it's going to be like a 3v3 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's not a 1v1, obviously. The biggest ownership projection in this game as of right now is Harden at 19%, Embiid at 19%, Zubac at 7%. So ownership is reflecting how this game, for a 4-gamer, those numbers are really, really low. New ownership should be coming in shortly.
Yeah, I like Embiid, but like we've talked about opportunity cost at center. Maxi's been coming off the bench. I think that it's actually better for Maxi. And if you wanted to play him on a 4-game slate, like you can take a shot there, just because he's going to be the one that's facilitating the offense when he comes off the bench. So it's a 4-game slate. Like this is the most uninteresting game, just because it's pretty much a full squad for both teams. And I still think that there's plays that you can make if you're running multiple teams in tournaments, but they're not priorities relative to the Milwaukee guys or the Nets or some of these Denver guys, just these situations where they're playing less people.
We have a what if George does not play? And again, we both expect he's going to play, but we'll see. He's officially questionable. Still, nobody on this team for the Clippers, even if George sits, including Kennard, including Wall, nobody grades out as a plus DK value. Covington is a slight negative. Powell's a slight negative. Zubac slight negative. Kawhi is a really interesting spend up because nobody's spending up for Kawhi in a 4-gamer. You can certainly do that if you want to, but it's obviously not the best math play. And if there's no George, like theoretically there is a ceiling where he can be the highest scoring player in the slate. Wouldn't surprise me. Just, it's a math probability thing. But yeah, it's just not a terribly interesting game. Trying to give a refresh here as far. Oh, here we go. We got ownership incoming now. Let's give a refresh. Let's see if anything pops for us. As I believe the Crunch Time crew will be jumping in momentarily. Do I see any questions in chat as we kind of run over? Can you play Joker and Lillard in the same lineup as a slate stands? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to do that for sure. I will, and that's probably a lineup where I don't have Drew Holiday because I'm, math and we live in the world of salary cap. But what do you think of playing Lillard and Joker in the same lineup? I'm good with that. No issues.
I'm fine with it. Yeah, I'm definitely fine with it.
Let's see if anything is. Seth Curry, 47% owned now. Yeah, because we're giving him 29 minutes and 4.3 is his asking price, and he's projected to hit over 30 fantasy points. Ben Simmons, the second highest owner guy, 42%, and then Drew Holiday at 37, Joe Harris at 35. Yeah, I get it. Portis, Lillard. Lillard's a pretty big number at 30%. I think I would get under that at 30. No issues with Lillard, but anything there kind of jump out for you? Have you refreshed as far as taking a peek at the ownership? Ingles at 23.
I do think Lillard's high, yeah.
Lillard's at 30 and Harden's at 19. Again,
I would much rather go to Harden.
We have Jokic at 17, and I think that's a little low. I think people just like Jokic, and I think he artificially gets pumped up. And I think our projection might be a little low too, personally, at 56.
I think so too. Yeah. We got the crunch time crew here, Dean.
All right, we got Keith, Eyes, we got Tim, and we have Roth. What's up, Roth? Roth, I forgot to mention yesterday. Congrats to your Giants.
Thank you.
I know you were happy about it yesterday. You also you won your bet. I don't know if you placed it if you happened in the right state through Fanduel, if you know a guy who knows a guy. But you talked about the Brunson burner and Dallas on the alt line.
Yep.
Did you make this wager? That was via STL cards. You guys talked about
I think it was like plus 550 or something. Just a typical lock. That's what I do. I give out locks. Stone cold, can't miss locks on this show. No, but I got my money from a very special place and a very special person. He's here right now. Hey, Dino, how are you? Dino, Devin, what's up, bud?
Yeah, he placed a wager at the United Devo Sportsbook in Tennessee. Yeah, 20 U.S. American dollars out of my wallet.
That's right.
Jeez,
with to the extent of which I play DFS, that's gonna last me for like the month. So that's
I'm so happy to hear this.
Yeah,
got your Pacifico and DFS covered.
That's right. Yeah.
About to go off. Me slitting. Well, I can't remember who slid into whose DMs, but I happened to win, I think $50 American off of you because I bet on Jonathan Bales making a certain number of push-ups. Do you recall this? We made a push-up bet. Wasn't that you? Did we not bet on Jonathan Bales push-ups? Remember there was a pandemic. Do you remember that?
I remember.
Remember.
Wait, no. I remember him doing a shitload of push-ups. I don't think I ever made a bet about it. Did I
not bet you? Am I making this up? I feel like we wagered in this.
We'll need to go in our DMs. I don't
Story
know.
checks out. I mean, let's be real.
The question is, if I lost, did I pay you, or do I owe you $50?
This is a very slick way of me saying, like, Roth, interest is accruing.
That's what I was wondering, how it's a very roundabout way of saying I still owe you $50. Just
well, it's now $1,300 according to my calculations and the big.
Yeah,
the juice has been run the entire time. So, yeah. So
we may have bet that. I do remember it vividly, but yeah.
This is just a long con for Dean to say I owe him money.
Yeah, right.
All right. Myself and Bobby, we have some lives to make. You guys have 28 minutes to knock out. It's a 4-gamer, plenty of things to talk about. Bobby, anything else here for the boys before we step aside and make way for the Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time?
That's it. Good luck tonight, everyone.
All right. Tim, Keith, Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it. Dino, make sure I don't owe you money. If I do, let me know. So do a little research there. I don't like owing people money. Hey, welcome to it.
Don't pay him, Kevin. Don't even bother. Why even bother pay him?
It'd be kind of fun to just string this along for the entirety of our friendship, decades. Yeah. I like it. I may just hold that $50 over his head if I do indeed owe him. Hey, welcome to it. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by the one and only by FanDuel, as you see there on the top left of the screen. Make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in legal sports betting state, take advantage of their fantastic bonus offer. New customers bet $5 on any market, get $150 in free bets, unless you're in Ohio, in which case you get $200 in free bets. And they've always just have fantastic deals going on there at FanDuel. And most importantly, they are the reason that this show is free. So give us a little thumbs up there on the YouTube and say hello to two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got one, Keith Eyster, a.k.a. the Iceman in the house. What up, Ice?
Yeah, not too much. Interesting little slate here. Lots of news. A couple big stars out. So plenty of decisions to make for sure. Congratulations to you on your Cowboys call yesterday. You just absolutely nailed that. I thought that was going to be a little bit closer, but you were all over it.
Thank you. It's just, I don't know. I just felt pretty damn confident about two things, the Giants winning and the Cowboys whooping some ass. So happy that all went well. We got Tim as well, a.k.a. TastefulTides. What up, Tim?
Every time I kind of listen to this conversation, you're winning a bet of some sort. I'm like half listening, and you're like picking winners, and your football team's winning, and you're living the high life for the NFL, aren't you?
The thing is, I'm a little more than a weatherman. I'm a little bit more than a weatherman. Sports fan as well. But yeah, no, things are going good. Sadly, I think the Giants may get waxed next week, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. They're better than people think. Hey, we got to talk about this slate. I said as far as 4 gamers go, this is a fairly interesting one. Tim, you feel the same way?
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways you can go in cash games too. So it's there's definitely some easy plays in cash games, and I think some easy plays to be overweight on in tournaments. But there are definitely some different kind of interesting ways to go also.
Okay, very good. Well, let's talk about the cash build, and I do believe that Tim, you're going to be our cash guy, or Andy Means today.
Sure, I can be the Andy Means.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So today is all about Brooklyn and Milwaukee for cash games. That's the pretty straightforward part. I think that there are a couple of kind of quote free square plays on FanDuel and on DK that are just kind of too cheap. The opportunity's too good. We're not worried about ownership in cash games. So I think Seth Curry is definitely number one. We have him projected right now in our starting lineup. I don't know if that's guaranteed, but I honestly don't really care. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He will have a huge usage, and he should be able to pay off his price tag pretty easily. So I would start off with Seth Curry. You can put him in your point guard or your shooting guard. It doesn't really matter because we have enough guys who are multi-positional eligibility today that you can put him in either one. And then the other guy that I would go with Brooklyn is Joe Harris. He is 4,200 on FanDuel, shooting guard, small forward. He is our number 2 highest points per dollar play on the FanDuel slate, and I think it's well deserved. He should start. And, with Kyrie out tonight, against the worst defense in basketball, this Brooklyn team is, they're going to play a ton of minutes and they're going to do really well. So those 2 guys I would start off with in cash games. Then it gets kind of more, I think, a little bit trickier, but I would go with Drew Holiday in a guard spot also. For Milwaukee, because Milwaukee's without Giannis, without Middleton, obviously. So there's tons of usage to go around in that matchup also. So my 3 core guys would be Curry, Harris, and Holiday for cash games. And then there's I think certain different ways that you can go. You can go Fred VanVleet for Toronto on FanDuel. He's super, super cheap. He's only 7,100. He's going to play a ton of minutes. They aren't a back-to-back, though, but I don't think it really matters. The price is so low, his floor is so good that he's a guard that you could get to. And then another one is Ben Simmons, point guard, power forward. I would definitely, if you play him, I would definitely play him in the power forward spot. He might actually have to score points today, which for him is super rare. He's going to have to kind of do everything. He's going to be the alpha guy. He's going to run point. He's going to do everything. So I think
him being the alpha guy is just freaking comical. That's what we need to happen. that's not
but
great.
I think that's gonna be the case tonight, though. And this is a really good spot for him. He's gonna be able to get to the rim against this team. So yeah, I don't have a lot of faith that he'll do it, but I think this would be the spot for him to do it. So, and then it kind of depends on the starting lineup. But you're going to see Edmund Sumner popping in optimals. He's 3,600. For him, I would say it's kind of if you need him in your cash team lineup, but I wouldn't prioritize him, if that makes sense. I don't think he's an absolute necessity, especially if he doesn't start. We only have him projected for 19 minutes. But he's only 3,600. And that is possible that he could be warranted in a cash game lineup, but I'm not personally playing him in cash games. And then there's Bobby Portis, again, another Milwaukee player with no Giannis. He should see a ton of usage. He's projected for 30 minutes. Good matchup. Power forward center. I prefer it if you played him at power forward, but yeah, so it's basically all about Brooklyn and Milwaukee today. That's the bottom line. And then maybe FDV if you want to.
Okay. By the way, Seth Curry starting in place of the injured Kyrie Irving. I'm not sure if you saw that or if you care.
Okay, yeah. So that's just solidifies Curry's role. He's an absolute must-play, both sites for cash games. I'm assuming for tournaments also. But yeah, so Curry. And then I'm sure that's what we have projected. So Sumner should be around 19 minutes. So he's not a priority for cash games. But I think if you land on him, you could play him. But I'm not crazy about it.
Okay, fair enough. Ice, let's talk some tournaments here. What's the game plan? Which of these good plays are you on, and which of them are you trying to get a little different with?
Yeah, definitely huge decision point on how we're handling the chalk in Milwaukee and in Brooklyn. Milwaukee has a tough matchup, so I'm definitely leaning towards building heavier with Brooklyn than I am with Miami, or with Milwaukee rather. I still want some exposure to Milwaukee. We just saw Drew smash without Giannis and Middleton. He's set up again. I don't care about the matchup. He's far too cheap for being for the workload that he's going to have tonight. Just 8K on DraftKings over on FanDuel here. Let me just change that real quick. Sorry. Yeah, 7,900 on FanDuel, far too cheap. I want to get overweight on him. I know it's 50% ownership is a huge number, but he just has such a great chance of making optimal lineups tonight with the role he has. It's how you're handling the cheaper stuff that I think is really interesting. It's really difficult to get to Lopez because there's a lot of centers that we want to play. Claxton in Brooklyn, Jokic is on the slate, and Embiid's on the slate. So getting to Lopez is going to be really tough. But he has by far the most attractive ownership number on Milwaukee, making him a very interesting play if you're fine fading Jokic and Embiid. I think the wings are also very interesting. Grayson Allen is currently coming in with significantly more ownership than Pat Connaughton or Joe Ingles. So I do like the pivot there. Allen is a guy who's completely scoring dependent primarily. I like Ingles to pick up some rebounds, some assists as well. So love the pivot from Allen to Ingles, and I'll mix in a little Connaughton as well. But all in all, I'm not necessarily trying to get way overweight on the Bucks. Like they're in my pool, but not somebody that I'm jamming in like crazy. Mm-hmm. Brooklyn, on the other hand, is playing San Antonio, who is the worst defense in basketball. And it's a much harder situation to figure out. With Milwaukee, we've seen Giannis and Middleton out multiple times this year. In Brooklyn, there's not much of a sample without Kyrie and Durant on the floor. So we don't know who's going to pick up all of the usage. It could be Simmons. It could be somebody like Joe Harris. It could be Seth Curry. So pivoting within Brooklyn is something I want to do a ton of. Mm-hmm. Curry's picking up a ton of ownership. I probably don't try to get overweight on that number just because it's so high. And I don't think that he's necessarily a lock for the optimal. Like if he has a poor night shooting, like you can find ways to fade Curry, in my opinion. One of those ways, Joe Harris is the one doing most of the scoring. I think that's plausible. Royce O'Neal, we've seen put up triple doubles before when he gets a bigger role. I know he's not a huge usage guy typically, but like they're missing the two highest usage guys on the team. Obviously, there's a ton to go around. And then my absolute favorite tournament play is TJ Warren. Probably not starting, coming off the bench, a little bit of a minutes cap on him, but he is a guy who could just be shooting an absolute ton when he comes off the bench. He's only 4,800 projected for 25 minutes right now. Probably has a cap of like 28 is the most minutes you're going to see out of him, but he could be the highest scorer on Brooklyn easily. So,
okay. A quick question here while we're talking about Brooklyn. The two main guys are out. Everyone that remains is relatively cheap. Like how many guys can you jam in or should you jam in for a tournament?
Good question. So I think with Brooklyn, I'm comfortable with 4. With Milwaukee, I would limit that to 3, mm-hmm. and probably only 2 of the expensive guys in Holiday, Portis, and Brook Lopez because of that matchup against Toronto. So I'm more interested in restricting my Milwaukee exposure. I don't want any more than 3. And on Brooklyn, I am comfortable going to 4. Like you mentioned, they're all cheap, yeah. And we don't know where the usage is coming from. So I'm fine sprinkling a few more darts there on Brooklyn.
And are you running that back?
I got a question for Keith, just real quick. Would you make a rule to limit Portis and Lopez together?
I don't think you have to. I certainly don't mind it. It makes sense from a correlation standpoint. I don't personally have that rule, but I think it does make sense. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If you're running 4 Brooklyn guys, you're running it back with somebody on San Antonio, or no?
I don't think you have to because of their pricing. It is definitely fine. Like if you're playing, they're just not expensive. If you're playing Simmons, Claxton, and Royce O'Neal, maybe you do. But if you're in the 4K, 3K range with these secondary guys, I think you're totally fine not running it back. Just especially on FanDuel here, they're not grading out as great values. Keldon is 6,600. He's perfectly fine. Like I wouldn't kick him out of the lineup, but I'm not necessarily forcing him in.
Okay. And then real quick, did you talk about Claxton? Because Devin mentioned in the chat, he saw a few people asking about him. I may have missed that.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic play. Very similar to the Brook Lopez play. He's center only. So it's really tough to get to him because Jokic is my favorite play on the slate. Like gotcha. Jamal Murray is still questionable. Like Embiid is on the slate.
You could play Claxton in cash too, for what it's worth. I'm personally playing Jokic in cash. Sorry, okay. Keith. I just wanted to let people know that he is viable. He's viable for cash, but I'm playing Jokic.
Yeah, I mean Claxton's a fantastic play. He could smash today. I'm personally on Jokic. So I'm going to have trouble getting over that ownership, which means I'm more than likely just fading him. That's why I'm overweight on guys like TJ Warren, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, just because of their positional eligibility. It just makes the way I'm building, they're the ones that fit my lineup better.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else that you want to add here? I kind of cut you off there.
No, I think we covered Brooklyn and Milwaukee pretty well. Talked about Jokic. So the guys before us were talking about Lillard and his ownership a little bit. I do agree that that's a little bit too much ownership. I know he's absolutely smashed here recently, but I'm going to be underweight on Lillard to be overweight on some of the other stars. I do like running it back in Milwaukee with Siakam or Van Vliet, especially who's really cheap here on FanDuel. But Jokic is a guy I certainly want to be overweight on. Embiid, and Harden is another one at 10.5. He's been playing awesome, and he's kind of in that same exact price range and positional eligibility as Lillard. So fantastic tournament pivot.
Very good. Let's kick things on over to DK. Tim, if you don't mind walking me through a build over there.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something real quick. We have this what if projections page for our premium members, and I just want to touch base about if Jamal Murray and Bones Highland are out.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Brown gets an unbelievably just huge increase in DK value and FanDuel value. So I'm right now leaving a spot open for Bruce Brown. But it doesn't mean that you guys have to, but that's just such a big increase, and he's going to have to play a ton of minutes. So, and also Jokic gets a huge increase on top of already huge usage. So if those two are out, it's big time, makes a big difference for Bruce Brown and Jokic.
Okay, and when you're leaving room for him, is there like an uncomfortable play you have to make if it doesn't work out the way that you want, or there's some pivots there that you like?
It's kind of uncomfortable, but I'm guessing that I think Murray's going to sit. So I am kind of gambling. There's no guarantee that happens. Mm-hmm. But you could always just play Bruce Brown anyway. I mean, it's not great, but that's what I'm currently doing right now. Okay. I think Jamal's going to sit. So okay. We'll see. But I just wanted to point that out to people because I think it is very, very important. Because a lot of people are just talking about Jokic, whereas they could matter a lot for some of the other players too.
Okay, good stuff. Let's talk about just your overall approach here on DK. What's different?
What's different is not a whole heck of a lot. It's very, very, very similar to Slate, especially for cash games. Seth Curry, again, you're locking him in. He's rated out as a 7.5 points per dollar value in our projections, which is just an absolute smash. There's just no reason to fade him. I don't think there's any reason to fade Ben Simmons unless you're worried about his back injury, which I guess could be possible, but I doubt that he'd even play in this game if there was any concern. So it's Curry, Simmons, and Harris for cash games from Brooklyn, and then it's Drew Holiday from Milwaukee. Those are my four kind of core plays that I'm just absolutely locking in both my cash game lineup and my single entry team. So those guys are 100% my lock plays. And then we've already talked about Jokic. He's going to be my center today. If you want to pivot, you could play Brook Lopez. You could play Claxton. You could play Dame Lillard. He's projected for 50 points at 9,500. I'm just going a different kind of lineup construction, but he certainly could fit a build in cash games if you wanted to. I think like Josh Richardson, maybe not for cash games, but maybe like for single entries. I think he'd be interesting as like a run back with all these Brooklyn players. But we've seen him have like a big time ceiling, and he's way too expensive on FanDuel. But on DK for only 4,500, he's definitely viable for tournaments. I consider him playing him in cash, but that's just too not good enough of a floor, I guess. So, but those are my four kind of core plays in cash.
Okay, very good. Ice, you want to talk tournaments here on DK? Let me know if anything is different or kind of same game plan.
Very similar game plan. I will note that what I was talking about with Brook Lopez and Nick Claxton over on FanDuel, where you can only play one center, that's a little bit different here on DK. So I do love both of them in tournaments. Claxton's over 7K. Like, it's not a comfortable play. But like San Antonio, they don't play any defense. They've allowed a ton of points in the paint. So he is a fantastic play. Can't get to him on FanDuel, but I definitely want to be overweight on DraftKings. Similar with TJ Warren, he's priced up here on DraftKings a little bit, but he could absolutely smash today. 5,200, not a price like that you'd love to pay for him, but again, if he leads the team in points, actual points scored, he can certainly pay that price off. The Denver situation that Tim was talking about is something I'm monitoring as well. I kind of agree that Murray sits today. That's part of why I love Jokic so much. But guys like Bruce Brown, Michael Porter Jr. is 5,400. I think he's a great pivot away from some of the other value. And even Aaron Gordon, I think you can build with all of these guys in. I think they're acceptable plays with the matchup against Portland, even if Murray plays. But if Murray is out, then this Denver team looks a lot better, especially Bruce Brown, Michael Porter Jr. would be my two favorites there.
Okay. Can I play Yuta Watanabe? Because I've wanted to play him all season long, and I'm hoping tonight's the night.
If you're ever going to play him, tonight's the night.
Okay. That's all I need, baby. I'm locking it in right now. Let's do that. All right. Hey, smash that like button if you haven't already. Devin, encouraging everyone in the chat. Boys, anything that you want to add before we get some QQs? We got about 6-7 minutes until lock.
I think we're good.
Okay. Very good, then. I will pull up the RG Discord. That's the spot where all the cool kids hang out, ask their questions. FanDuel cash question from Aside. Tim, this is for you. Dame Dalla, Warren, and Clickety Claxton, or Royce, Siakam, and Lopez?
They're both pretty good, but I'd go with the second one.
All right. Monkey Wrangler says DK, GPP, can Embiid and Harden both get there on a GPP 4-game slate?
Good question. Tough matchup against the Clippers. George expected back. Because of the 4-game slate, I don't think you need absolute ceilings from both of them. You probably need Jokic and Dame to kind of not get there, but I do think it's possible on this 4-game slate, yes.
Okay, very good. NBA DFS says, cash question, with Murray and Highland both questionable, is Bruce Brown okay FanDuel as the last piece in cash? And Tim, you're nodding. You're cool with that, right?
Yeah.
Or is that the guy you were talking about that you were excited?
Yeah. I mean, that is, I think it's a good play. But it could backfire. So, I mean, it's not safe, and we're trying to get kind of safe when we play cash. So, but I mean, that's my lean is that Murray sits. So right now I'm going that route. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Works good enough for me, man. Achilles DK cash question. Tim, right back at you. Dame Portis or Allen and Jokic?
Dame Portis.
All right. Aside FanDuel cash 2v2, Van Vliet and Joe Harris, or TJ Warren and Jeremy Grant?
Is that for cash?
Yeah, it was FanDuel cash. Van Vliet, Joe Harris, or TJ Warren and Jeremy Grant?
First one.
Steve-O says, hey, I'm losing my voice, guys. If Murray doesn't play, does Bruce Brown or Bones start?
They've done both this season, so I think that's up in the air. I don't think it matters whatsoever. Like, Bruce Brown's definitely starting. It's just a matter of whether he starts at the point. I mean, it doesn't matter. They'd both be phenomenal plays.
Okay. FanDuel cash, Tim, you want Jokic or Embiid?
Jokic.
Yep, that's me. Says, can you recap some of your DK cash locks for me?
Steph Curry, 100%. Joe Harris, and Ben Simmons, Drew Holiday. Those are my 4 guys that I think you should definitely have in your cash lineup.
I totally get it for cash and like the Ben Simmons thing, but I think some dudes are just who they are. Like, I am a low usage basketball player, whether I'm playing with great players or I'm playing with shitty players. It's just my game is not taking 15 shots. And I just think Ben Simmons is that dude.
He's still only 5,900 though.
Yeah,
so
he's
even
so cheap, and he's gonna get 10 boards and 10 dimes and everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
I was gonna say.
he
Yeah.
even if he doesn't score points today, he could easily pay off that price tag.
Okay, that's fair. All right, Adam says Siakam GPP on DK. Yeah, we didn't talk about Siakam. He probably plays 40 minutes because he does every night.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah, very good. Scrolling up a little bit here. Here we go. Jep says, are Noara and Mills good plays on DraftKings?
Noara over Mills for me. Like Mills, even if he gets the minutes, which is definitely not guaranteed, he's not a high usage guy. I know there's a lot of usage to go around, but I don't think I could take shots there. I'd much rather play Noara, who will, if he gets run, will shoot and put up some shots.
Okay, very good. Tim Akers says, we'll call this a GPP question, Ice. Pick one of these guys. It looks like Keldon, Ben Simmons, Grant, or Portis.
I mean, I need a little more context. Like Simmons is the best play of the group, but if you need to differentiate, he's also the chalkiest of the group. Mm-hmm. Simmons, Portis. Who were the other two?
It was Keldon and Grant.
I'd go Keldon if you need to differentiate.
Okay, very good. Let's see if we got anything in the old RG Discord. Here we go. A couple more questions coming in from Achilles. DK Cash, Warren Brolo Dame, or Bruce Brown Ingles Jokic?
I think it's the first. The first one is the safest.
Okay. Steve-O says, I love playing Scotty Barnes every slate. Am I sacrificing value in DK GPPs tonight?
A little bit, yes. He's not great. There's certainly plays that are grading out much better, but he's totally fine. Another guy who's going to be out there for upper 30s minutes.
Can you love playing Scotty Barnes every slate, or has he just been really disappointed all season?
He's been really good here recently.
Okay,
I prefer to play him when Van Vliet is out because he runs a little bit of point. I certainly don't love playing him every night, but he's been awesome lately. Okay,
good to know. John Tom says DK GPP, Portis, Dame, Ice, or Brown and Embiid?
Depending on tournaments, I would definitely go the second one. First one's real chalky.
All right. What did the farmer get when he stepped on the rake? 2 acres. I don't get the joke. I don't. Oh, 2 acres. Like he got hit in his nuts when they ache. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe that's the joke. I don't know. If that's the joke, that's pretty funny, Hammer.
You really are more than a weatherman.
Yeah. It wasn't my joke, to be clear. All right. Let's see. All right. We caught up on all the questions here. All right. We caught up on the questions. I am losing my voice quickly. I do not feel good. I think we're going to hold on for dear life for another 15 seconds or so until it gets to 6:30. If you guys have a question, get them in. And then we are going to bounce at lock.
I'll take this opportunity to let the viewers know we have the PGA Drive for Show, DFS for Dough show right after this. So if you're playing golf this week, tune in.
Who's on the show, Devin?
One, STL Cardinals and
Smart.
Notorious.
Oh,
two of the best.
Man. Yeah, 2 of the OGs. Got to tune in for that. Do you say it's immediately following this?
7:45 Eastern.
Excellent. Okay, so you guys do not have to wait long to get more quality RG content, as always. With that, we have hit the lock. We are going to bounce. So for Ice, for Tim, for Devin, and the rest of our wonderful production team, guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.